our final video for today. And I want to preface this by saying that I am very active when it comes to fandom spaces. I am a very big fandom person. I'm a big shipper, and I am very involved when it comes to fandom, just fandom shenanigans going on, good and bad. And I found a video that is called "Why Gay Ships Happen" by a portal, whatever. I've never seen any of this guy's videos before, but I watched the first couple minutes, and I was like, this seems like a good one. So let's see what this good man has to say. I'm assuming it's a man. Let's go.
Gay ships. Fans pushing for romantic pairings of same-sex characters in fiction.
Do we have subtitles?
We see these all the
Sure
time.
do.
But why? I mean, you look at each show and you think this is unnecessary. For most of these stories, there's usually a designated love interest with a but.
True.
A character, often too, that the writers set aside as an aspect of the story to officialize when convenient for the story, oftentimes in the end. Invincible starts with Amber in the beginning, but Eve. Naruto initially pursues Sakura, but Hinata. Sung Jin-woo seems to have a connection with
always like one or two.
But Chaein. In almost every case where fans have pushed for a gay ship to become canon, there's already a hinted at straight heterosexual ship.
Yes. And I will say right now that even in those cases, it doesn't fucking matter. The point of shipping is not to strictly adhere to what canon dictates these characters are like or do or how they feel towards each other. The point of shipping is just picking two characters or more than two characters and being like, what if I made these two kiss? Two women, two men, two one man, one woman, multiple, whatever. Doesn't matter. The point is just to explore the what ifs.
Right there that writers are setting up. I can already hear it. At this point, you guys are either yelling some gamer words at your screen after seeing the title and thumbnail, and the sound of my voice is just fading in and out while you furiously comment away in your slur-fueled haze. Or you're following me rationally, thinking, Portal, of course there's always going to be gay ships because there's gays who want to see themselves represented in media.
Among other things, yes. Yes, that is part of it. Kingdom Hearts, Sora implied with Kairi, but then shows more emotions to Riku. I've heard.
And to that I say, fair point. But is that the whole story?
It's not.
I see more oftentimes non-gay men pushing for male characters to get together in fiction than I see gay men do so.
I don't know if I see more straight men shipping, having gay pairings than gays. At least for men, I don't know. I'm pretty sure, like, among women, I'm pretty sure it's pretty equal. I would almost say, like, there's a lot of gay women or just non-straight women with gay ships. A lot.
Think of all the straight women that pushed for Destiel to be canon in Supernatural, the shipping of Dean and Castiel,
True.
Or for Jason Victor to be canon as a ship in Arcane.
True.
I think it happens often enough that summing this up to simple representation isn't telling the whole story. Most of the time, often in shonen anime, a common complaint will be that relationship drama or romance tends to detract from the action or core storyline which fans came to the story for.
I don't even think that's necessarily. I think that argument is it happens. It happens for sure. But I wouldn't say that's always or usually the case. You can have both. You can have both. You can have a good story with, romance elements. It doesn't necessarily have to take away from like one doesn't necessarily have to take away from the other, but it happens.
For example, Invincible is mainly interesting for the Viltrumite conflict, and after hearing Anissa mention Conquest's potential arrival, you spend every rooftop conversation between Eve and Mark counting down the seconds until his arrival. In Naruto, you want to see the development of the conflict between the Leaf and Sasuke, or the Leaf and the Akatsuki, so seeing Sakura confess to Naruto to pull him away from going after Sasuke literally serves as an obstacle between fans and wanting to see the main plot unfold.
Yeah. I get that.
Them rolling their eyes. Oftentimes,
I think it's often like a timing thing too. Like depending on when it happens and how you do it. If you have like a big tense scene going on or arc going on, and at what is supposed to be, the climax of it, suddenly you just throw in some romance, you throw in some like love confessions or whatever, seemingly out of nowhere. It can definitely dampen your enjoyment.
With male main characters, their designated female love interest serves as a step away from the action the MC often finds himself dealing with. Think Mark Grayson and Amber, Spider-Man and Gwen, Superman and Lois Lane, or Naruto and Sakura.
Besides Naruto and Sakura, I have no idea about the rest, but I'm gonna go ahead and believe him on that, I guess.
Oftentimes, the love interest serves as a core motivation and exploitable weakness of the MC because they're more of a mortal. And even when they aren't, the power crawl in the series will usually have the MC leave the love interest behind as the stakes of the show rise higher and higher.
That is one big thing. And I think the thing he's approaching right now is definitely the fact that romance itself isn't the problem. Even straight romance itself isn't the problem. But listen, people have been saying it for so long, and they're not necessarily wrong to an extent that, like, many authors just cannot write women for the life of them. They always feel, or not always, but they often feel the need to write love interests, especially female love interests, as like a sort of stepping stone, or as like an additional motivator instead of their own character.
Eventually leading to a point where the protagonist and their villains are so powerful that whatever abilities the love interests have are rendered obsolete in comparison. And as such, they lack the agency to directly affect the challenges of the MC, and are relegated to cheer them on or serve as a source of emotional drama to heighten the challenges our MC deals with.
Yep.
Through either halting the MC's mental focus on the main conflict and frustrating the viewer, or to be a casualty of the main conflict that ends up firing up the motivations of the MC, which, by the way, is so common that there's literally a term for it. Fridging.
Oh, really? There's a word for that?
When we write our protagonists' love interests to be passive actors within the world, low agency, and weak, however, fridging makes sense. After all, you can only annoy your audience with filler scenes for so long until...
Wait, so I'm actually gonna look that word up, like, just to, like, for like a precise definition. Fridging. Literary trope coined by yada 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 as describing a trend in which in fiction, which involves female characters facing disproportionate harm, such as death, maiming, or assault, to serve as plot devices to motivate male characters. Okay.
Sense. After all, you can only annoy your audience with filler scenes for so long until you either let the love interest fade into irrelevance and be forgotten by the story, or maximize fully and get the bang for your buck by killing them off brutally to make your MC suffer into a new, bloodlusted state of power, where the audience gets excited to see them wield their abilities in a way that steps out of their previously defined moral code. Bring, 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 bring.
What the f-
Portal, you haven't answered the damn question. Why do gay ships happen?
I mean, I'll let him cook.
Right. Gay ships happen because they solve this problem.
Yes!
After all, if an audience would only find the designated love interest compelling once they've been fridged to motivate that power fantasy climax, the love interest fails to be interesting beyond their use as a plot device. One of the most popular examples of a gay ship being prescribed for this problem is Naruto and Sasuke.
Oh, for sure.
Two foils that both strive for higher agency and power in their own opposing ways, with the goal of changing the world they each suffered in as orphans. While a side plot of romance with a character who lacks an ambition or drive of their own detracts screen time from developing the ongoing main conflicts and dramas in the story, when fans add undertones of a romantic relationship to the conflict between two characters who are the center of the story, the ship only serves to intensify the drama and enrich it, as both...
Yes. Because in this case, the romance, it's kind of just like a part of it. Because with ships, you take two characters who already have a certain dynamic. Usually, not always. Sometimes you just take two characters that look hot together or that look cute together and you're like, bam, kiss. But the romance only adds to it. Like, you have an already existing setting, an already existing dynamic, two characters who on their own are already fleshed out, and the ship just adds on to it. The ship just explores options based on what we already know about these characters. And that's why I say that, as much of a reputation as shippers can have, for sure, for, neglecting the characters' actual, personalities and development for the sake of a ship or, all that kind of stuff that people like to say. I would argue that that oftentimes it also goes the exact other way. If you take your shipping seriously, right, which personally I do, you have to really know your characters. You have to know your characters, know their motivations, their background, their personalities, and their dynamic to come up with scenarios and theories, headcanons, whatever, that actually match who they are. That's what I do. Like, when I ship two characters, I always do so based on what I know about them, and I always, I want my shipping to be in character, When I have two characters who are just very, emotionally constipated, who do not talk about their problems, who are very, standoffish, I'm not gonna have them go on, a sweet, wholesome first date where at the end they hold hands and they kiss. No! I know that in a relationship, these two would be absolute disasters. It would be the most frustrating slow burn in existence. And that's how I'm going to treat them. I see shipping as an extension of their character. I don't see shipping as taking away from, the action or the characters. I see it as as a bonus to as another way to explore a character's dynamic, not just with their other part, but also just other characters, if I ship Naruto and Sasuke, I don't just think about how these two interact with each other, but I also think about how they interact with other characters outside in comparison to each other. I guess that's a problem sometimes. Shippers get lost in the shipping sauce, that they forget how the OG characters are like. To be fair, though, that happens to general fans most of the time. Yeah, that's not just a shipping thing. How many times do you have characters, or do you have people that aren't shippers, that just completely mischaracterize and misinterpret a character's actions and dumb them down to just one or two traits? That's not a shipping exclusive thing. People just assume it is. Let me go back a little bit.
To the conflict between two characters who are the center of the story, the ship only serves to intensify the drama and enrich it, as both characters hold agency and power which is on par with one another. And as such, their possible relationship is that much more interesting because we aren't being dragged through the boredom of pretending a romantic connection that takes away from the plot is important. We're watching two active forces within a fictional world, two characters, interesting and worthy of their own fleshed out stories, intersect and clash in a way that makes for truly compelling drama. The important aspect here isn't that the ship is gay. I mean, it'll happen more often if you write flat, one-note, or unlikable female characters in your stories.
That, and even if they aren't flat and unlikable, they just aren't treated as well. They just are treated badly. I wouldn't even consider popular characters like Hinata, Sakura, and others. I wouldn't even consider them like one note or boring or bland. But it's just that the way that they're treated doesn't bring out their full potential.
Happen more often if you write flat, one-note, or unlikable female characters in your stories, where the protagonist/antagonist guys are usually where the viewers insert themselves and can actually empathize with their actions and motivations. The important part is agency. If you think I'm just here to push an agenda, take a look here. In Arcane, one of the most compelling and riveting relationships we see presented is that between Jinx, an Undercity terrorist struggling through her own grapples with trauma, and Echo, an Undercity revolutionary who also struggles with his own past trauma. These two very competent characters are incredibly influential forces for change in affecting the plot, and at the same time, they also exist as different answers to the oppression of the Undercity by Piltover.
Interesting.
So their differing approaches, beliefs, and conflict being undertoned by an attraction and care for each other enriches that main plot instead of feeling like a distraction from it. Jinx and Echo ship Time Bomb works as a narrative theme.
That's a fun name.
For this reason, the relationship between them isn't just compelling as motivation after one of their deaths, and it certainly isn't annoying the audience, After all, the millions of people who are praying and
Oh,
hoping
damn.
to see more of their interactions in deleted scenes in the Season 2 music
Damn.
video go to illustrate my point further. Their relationship serves to pay itself off as a compelling aspect of the story in their every interaction, whether they're fighting, making up, or working together for a shared goal. And that's really the key takeaway here. It's not that people ship characters just because of the same gender, or just because they want to see more representation in media.
No, I mean that's for sure part of it. But also take like these two that he just mentioned, were like, you know, a guy and a girl, right? Look at fucking Fairy Tail. Listen, I will forever be a huge Fairy Tail defender. It's one of my all-time favorite anime. I freaking love it. Look at Fairy Tail and the amount of straight ships, straight pairings that series has. Now, I am someone who 8 out of 10 times, maybe like 9 out of 10 times, will, if I have the option between a straight ship and a gay ship, I will go for the gay ones. Even in Fairy Tail, I have like 3 gay ships. I have 3 gay ships. Meanwhile, every main straight ship that you have in Fairy Tail, you have Gadil and Levi, one of my all-time favorite ships, just in general. And it's a guy and a girl. You have Jalal and Erza, you have Natsu and Lucy, you have Gray and Juvia, you have others that are, you know, known to a lesser extent, but these ships are insanely popular. Evergreen and Elfman, yeah, these two as well. I freaking love them. They are insanely popular. And that is because, say what you want about Fairy Tail, but they know how to write their characters. That is because both parts of these relationships, like both characters, are fleshed out in their own ways, and the romance just adds on to it. You have dedicated scenes where, you know, they have like their like a little date thing going on, or, you know, little like gags or romantic moments. But these moments don't take away from the action. They don't take away from the characters themselves. Listen, Mashima just knows how to write women. Like, he just knows how to write women. Fairy Tail's female cast is so good. The ship added to the character. Yeah, exactly. Like, my favorite example is Gadil and Levi. I guess, like, you know, spoiler alert if you haven't watched Fairy Tail, if you care about spoilers. Like, Gadil and Levi started out as, like, complete opposites. Like, they started out as enemies. Gadil literally beat her up and hung her. They started out as complete enemies, and, like, over the course of the entire series, you see them gradually getting closer. In just small moments, just sprinkled throughout. You see them gradually getting closer, teaming up here and there, spending more time together. Eventually, others catch on and they're like, oh, well, something's going on there. But it's never really that highlighted that much until towards the very end. They are pretty much like which I think is, by the way, I think is still wild, that Gadil and Levi at the very end of like the main series are the only pairing that is like beyond a shadow of a doubt confirmed canon. But that was a build-up throughout the entire series. And it added to both of their characters. Especially Gadil. Like, Levi's existence added to Gadil's character without reducing her to, like, you know, some damsel in distress or a plot device. Like, Levi is still a great character on her own. She's still very capable, very strong. They team up, they help each other, they have their own strengths. It's not like just Gadil saving Levi and when she's, you know, in danger, or you know, villains using her as you know, hostage or whatever. No, they're both perfectly capable characters on their own, and they just happen to grow closer and, you know, depend on each other. And the same is the case with any other straight ship, and that is why it works. That is why Fairy Tail's straight ships are actually so very popular. Even more so than any of the gay ships. I would argue that even like Sting and Rogue, well, actually for Sting and Rogue, maybe. Sting and Rogue is like one of the more popular gay ships. Or like Gray and Natsu. They're two of the main characters, but their straight ships are a lot more popular than the two of them with each other. Even though they quite literally have a rival dynamic going on, which usually, you know, is very popular. But because their relationships with their respective female partner is just like so well written and fleshed out, and it's not rushed, it's not one note, it's just well written, their straight ships are much more popular. It's not just about these characters being straight or gay. That, of course, it plays a part. Like, I can say for myself that most of the time, again, if I have the choice, I'll probably go for the gay ships over the straight ones, just because, that's my preference. But if you have two straight characters, or two, characters that are interested in each other, and you see their romantic attraction as like an add-on, as a bonus, a way to explore both of their characters instead of just plot or just for the sake of it, it can work. It can work really fucking well.
Those things
Let me go
are a
back.
shared goal. And that's really the key takeaway here. It's not that people ship characters just because of the same gender, or just because they want to see more representation in media. Those things can be factors, sure. But at the core of it, people are drawn to ships where both characters matter, where both characters influence the story, push the narrative forward, and exist as more than just set pieces in someone else's journey. When the designated love interest in a story is just that, someone designated, someone whose entire existence is built around supporting the protagonist rather than living their own story, it's no wonder audiences gravitate towards the characters who are actually doing things, changing things, mattering in the grand scheme of the plot. And yeah, sometimes that just so happens to be two guys, or two girls, because good writing doesn't care about gender or politics. It cares about agency.
Exactly.
And when a story gives both characters that level of narrative importance, it's only natural that audiences will empathize better and find deeper connections between them. So no, it's not just about pushing an agenda or forcing representation. It's about the fact that compelling storytelling naturally leads people to invest in relationships where both characters stand on equal ground. And if writers want to curb the endless rise of fan-made gay ships,
not that there's anything wrong with that. Not at all.
But then just write better women! Write better straight ships!
Maybe, just maybe, they should start writing their female love interests with the same level of agency and impact as their male leads. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a voice on the internet. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there a ship I missed that perfectly fits this pattern? I'd love to hear what you think, and if you enjoyed this video,
that was a good video,
and hit the bell so you don't miss out
Short
on more
and sweet.
deep dives like this one.
But that was good. That was really fucking good. He pretty much nailed it. Of course, there's always like a little more, like there's always more to these kinds of topics, but this is a big part of like why people tend to have gay ships over the straight ones, because a lot of the time the straight ones just aren't written that well. They just aren't written that. They just aren't that deep. I do want to say what the comments here have to say. Like, I feel like this could go either way. Oh, hey, there I am. Stretches tend to be flat, underdeveloped, and empty because the mostly male writers are more invested in maintaining status quo, mainstream ideas on relationships, and gender norms and expectations. Yep. Given the fact that most shows are populated with mostly male lead characters with male friendships, given more priority, people will simply use those friendships as a basis for shipping. For the women that ship them, they want good quality romance with equality and mutual respect between two parties. Very hard to find in fiction. True. I would also add that heteronormativity is pretty overused, so it's kind of cliche. I like to see other types of behavior, relationships, and people because it's fresh. Yes, that is also it. Variety. Straight couples oftentimes, I feel like, follow a similar formula. There's just less variety when it comes to straight pairings, you know? Because again, usually my favorite straight pairings are the ones that start off on equal ground, where both characters are their own people, you know? Gajula and Levy and Fairy Tail, one big example. I even have straight ships in Genshin. I love Nilo and Kave. I like Nilo and Alhaitham. I like Nilo and Wanderer. Not because I see Nilo as like some sort of like plot device or an additional piece to like as like a stepping stone or something. No, it's because I love Nilo. I love these male characters. And I'm like, hey, bam, put them together. See what comes out. It's just because I like these characters individually. And I'm interested in them individually that I want to explore other options. I feel like when you see this title, my first thought as well, before I actually started watching it, I was like, oh dear goodness, this can go one of two ways. But no, actually, this guy gets it. He gets it. What other videos has this guy done? Now I'm curious. I'm curious. Symbolism and meaning, arcane, how invincible writes men. Okay, so he does like lots of like analysis on like writing characters, it feels like. But it's mostly like comic stuff, which I personally am not into. But I mean, hey, if it's mostly shorter videos, but hey, if it's anything like this one, I would assume that these videos are also pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good. You know, he's short, he's to the point, and yeah, that was a pretty fucking good video. Pretty good. Where am I? There I am. Do I make this into a video? I think I do. I am a very fandom-centered person. That is part. I do want to make that part of my content, occasionally talking about these topics, because I think they are, you know, they're fun to talk about and also to like very important to an extent. But yeah,